Well, let's jump right into it and talk about your assessments of the current pace of AI adoption among Canadian businesses. Luvenn, you have some specific data on this. What are some of the key findings you have?
Thanks, April. So let me start off by saying that my perspective is based on NoviPro Group's IT Trends Report. It is an annual report that we develop with Leger, which is based on a survey of Canada-wide IT and non-IT business leaders. So in this year's report, AI ranked first in technology investment areas at 30%, up from last year. So it's obviously got momentum. And we also found that 20% of respondents had already invested in AI, so clearly it's on an upward trend.
Clearly an upward trend. Armen, you have an inside look, obviously, within Aldo Group, but how would you assess how AI is being adopted across Canadian businesses? Are there some sectors that are doing AI adoption better than others?
Hi, everyone. First, thank you for having me here on the panel remotely. Yes, so I'm in retail. I work for Aldo, so I know that we started adopting AI in 2023. And when I was speaking to some some retail fellows, they were thinking about it, but we actually started doing it. From my perspective, I think CPGs have probably adopted AI before everyone else, and maybe other segments as well. But in retail, I didn't know much in 2023, and I don't think that there is much today either, in terms of the types of AIs that we're developing, like sort of machine learning, not just generative AI.
Luvenn, in terms of the research you've been looking at, what kind of AI are companies most interested in at this moment in time?
Well, so there's all kinds of AI. I'm not an AI expert, but from the IT Trends Report, you know, it's more generalized and covers everything from Gen AI to agentic AI to AI agents. So at the very minimum, you're looking at companies investing in solutions that are easy to get into, lower cost entry points, things like that. So I would say AI agents, more than likely.
And how are they using AI agents to make changes at their companies, transform what they do?
Right. So I have a customer who actually implemented, we didn't do it for them, but they implemented an AI agent solution in their customer service department. So they did it not to replace any human resources, but to complement. Essentially, they use the AI agent to intake prospects and leads, qualify them a bit more, share information with the customer, and if it progressed to the stage where it needed to be handed off to a person in sales, then it was handed off to a person in sales. So,
Armen, what's the potential you see with AI agents?
Yeah, it is really the next big thing. Everybody's talking about it. But maybe I want to take a little step back and say what we're doing at Aldo in terms of the AI use cases, and then I'll correlate that with how agentic AI can transform and bring it to the next level. At Aldo in retail, we have effectively built a demand forecast model. These are all machine learning models. They're not just generative AI. We also have some Gen AI, but mostly machine learning. We're also building a markdown optimization tool with built models for that, and also order fulfillment. Businesses in general, but especially in retail, they want to be quick to respond to trends, demand, and macro conditions, for example. And they want to have capabilities to simulate different scenarios quicker. Today, these are done in Excel spreadsheets and with multiple tabs, hundreds of rows, and AI can solve for that. But where agentic AI differs from these traditional AIs and even Gen AI is that it introduces a crucial ingredient of autonomy. This enables AI systems to move from just informing or suggesting or predicting to actually taking action. So they can handle multiple step complex tasks. They can chain together different sequence of decisions and actions to perform those tasks. They can learn and adapt over time on their own. This will transform retail because it will optimize, for example, supply chain, dynamic pricing, improving inventory management, etc. So these are very prominent use cases for retail. As another example, systems like agentic systems can continuously track, for example, product performance. They can trigger adjustments in pricing in store or online in real time. And the humans do this today, but it takes them weeks or months to review or realize. But the agents can do them a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently without stopping.
You talked about learning and adapting and having to do that in real time. We're also in a time of tariffs and the trade war and companies having to make decisions really quickly because things are changing rapidly. How has Aldo used AI to help ease those pain points?
Yeah, so the use case I spoke about, Excel with hundreds of rows, we actually experienced that. We don't have agents at the moment because our focus is really building these AI models. But when, just like everybody else, when we saw these trade challenges, we tried to help them with the current tools that we had. And this is where we had the idea of building them a simulator that they could easily do quick simulations and figure out what the next best action should be quicker. Our demand forecast models actually picked up on the sales trends from weeks prior and helped us make better informed decisions for the upcoming weeks.
I'm sure many in this room would love to know what you see as the next phase of AI adoption. Armen, what do you predict? What do you see in your crystal ball?
Well, I think agentic AI is really the next big thing. This is the big bet at the moment, but it's easier said than done. You know, you need to have proper data, and there's a lot of challenges around there. But agentic AI is really the next big thing. It's coming.
Luvenn, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. So agentic AI is autonomous decision making. You're already seeing it in action with driverless cars and those types of solutions and applications. So I think we're beyond, or I think it's going to exceed what Gen AI applications probably offer. So you're going to see more of that.
What do you think, what's your take on the biggest barriers that you hear from Canadian companies in terms of adopting AI?
Yeah, so the Actually Trends report identified, asked the question, and the respondents did give their feedback. So the biggest barriers are cost, lack of internal skills, and concerns about data security.
Those are all, serious concerns. Armen, in your conversations with others in the industry, maybe inside Aldo, what's the we can't adopt AI, this is too risky, usually about? What is that conversation usually about?
Few of them, but in my perspective, but I think data is the most important one because if you don't have the data, then you can't really do AI. Forget agentic AI. So AI relies heavily on data. We know this, specifically quality of data. So many organizations don't have the right foundations in place. They have data for BI, for example, which is more reporting analytics, but that's not the same data required to do AI. Data for AI needs to be transformed accordingly. So this is really a big barrier or challenge. I would say another one is really change management, lack of leadership or fear of losing their jobs because they think AI would replace them, but we don't really view it like that. We see it as augmentation. also building AI systems in-house, if you decide to take that route, there's finding talent, which is very, very challenging, and also capital, to return on investment on the capital that you're investing to build these models, and also the infrastructure costs can run pretty high. So these are kind of the risks and challenges that are present across the board, obviously.
You mentioned change management and the fear of people losing their jobs. What kind of advice do you give inside your organization to, alleviate some of those concerns? That's to you, Armen.
Thank you. I can speak from experience. We went through this, and really the approach is, first you need to educate your organization, the staff in your organization. It needs to be top down. They need to have literacy on data, on AI, and you also need to start experimenting internally with quick wins. You can pick a few use cases and just do small experiments, POCs, and that will definitely help to build trust. The other thing as well is you can't just build these AI systems and just let them run freely. You need to have oversight on them. You need to sometimes even override decisions that the AI makes, which also has a benefit of training the model to provide the right information you're seeking for. So having really oversight on the AI, training your staff, doing quick wins, and always maintain the human in the loop. This is really critical for to build that, to have that trust factor, and really adopt this frontier technology.
Having a human in the loop, that's good advice. Luvenn, what's your take on that? What's important when it comes to change management and alleviating that fear of losing jobs?
Right. So before I answer that, I did want to add on the data point. In addition to quality of data, data privacy is important too. So organizations need to invest in data infrastructure solutions and governance practices, because with a lot of AI solutions, they have access to all kinds of data that belong to the organization. And so you want to make sure that that data is protected, the sensitive data is protected, and you build parameters and fences around that.
What could policymakers be doing to help ease some of these barriers or risks that you've been discussing? We talked about costs and data. Luvenn, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so even though there's an uptick in AI adoption in Canada, we still lag from a global perspective. So there's a lot of work to be done, and especially in current economic challenges that we're facing. Canadian businesses need to be more productive and more competitive, so they need to understand that AI, a solution that's going to help them achieve that. There are some organizations, there are some sectors that don't believe AI would make a difference to them, and so it's my belief that if they don't conform to what the market is thinking, they will be left behind. So,
Armen, your thoughts?
Think
Is there anything
education,
that, what should policymakers be doing to help ease some of those challenges or barriers to AI adoption?
So they need to fund more startups, in the private sector, and I think educating, including AI in the education system somehow, and looking AI as more of an infrastructure. I think Canada has made some strides in terms of investment in AI. But I think education and funding more startups, fueling them with capital if there are good ideas on the table is definitely going to propel and put Canada on the map in terms of leaders in AI.
Okay, so funding for startups and having some earlier stage companies help us to innovate in AI. I want to end off. We've got a couple minutes left with a call to action for some of the business leaders who are in this room. What's your call to action for them to not fall behind in adopting AI, but to also do so responsibly. Luvenn, let's start with you.
So I would say start the process where you're understanding how AI is going to help your organization, have a clear understanding of what you want the outcomes to be, figure out the ROI, figure out the payback. With cost being a barrier, there are programs out there, government programs that do fund innovation like this. So I think people need to get moving on that to understand how it's going to help their business, whether they implement it in the near term or in the long term. It doesn't matter. I think people need to understand how AI is going to help them and move towards that.
Great, thank you. Armen, what's your advice to leaders in this room on how they can make sure that they don't fall behind in adopting AI?
Be curious. Be curious. Talk to people. Talk to people who have done it. If you're in retail and you're unsure, you have questions, you can reach out to me. But you need to adopt this technology or you will be left behind. This will give you a competitive edge and you need to embrace it. And you just have to be curious and not be scared of it. And take baby steps, as I said before. Experiment, POCs, you'll get there.
Get the funding that's available, that's out there. Be curious. Call up Armen. He's going to give you some advice. Those are some great takeaways. Thank you so much for this fascinating conversation. But we must leave it here. Let's hear it for Luvenn and Armen.
Thank you.